A man slapped a woman's butt, but instead of getting angry, she just flashed a mischievous grin. Little did they know, their boss caught the whole thing and was totally pissed. He fired the guy on the spot. As Jess was packing up his stuff to head home, he stumbled upon a horrifying scene. His female supervisor had been shot dead right then and there. Freaked out, Jess bolted to the bathroom to hide, only to find the security guard sprawled out on the floor. He rushed over to check on the guard's injuries but accidentally triggered the motion sensor on the toilet. The sound of the flush was bound to alert the killer. Jess quickly shut the door, but the killer hadn't actually heard a thing. Just as Jess thought he could relax, the killer suddenly spoke up. That's when it clicked, the killer was after the guard's keys. Jess scrambled to crawl through a crack into the next stall. After swiping the keys, the killer smashed the guard's walkie-talkie and shut off the main fire valve. He strolled into the records room, rigged up some incendiary devices, and got ready to burn the place to the ground. Jess made a run for the break room to call the cops, only to find another co-worker pulling late hours. He filled him in on the situation and they hightailed it to the elevator, but it was already locked down tight. Their only option was the fire escape, but the killer had trashed all the exits. They decided to split up if the co-worker would send out an SOS on the computer while Jess searched for another way out. Suddenly, Jess spotted the killer and raced to warn his co-worker. The clueless guy blurted out that the network had been cut, and even though Jess clamped a hand over his mouth, the killer still heard him. Following the sound, the killer barged in to find the room empty, but the computer was still on. He yanked out the power cord and took off, but they had underestimated the killer's smarts. They had barely made it out when the killer caught them, well, just the co-worker trying to call for help. The killer put a gun to his head and grilled him about anyone else in the building. The co-worker swore it was just him. Meanwhile, Jess was hiding in the shadows, watching in horror as the killer strangled his co-worker to death. To save his own skin, Jess swiped the dead man's keycard and slipped into the stairwell, only to find a female co-worker collapsed in the corner. He nearly screamed, but the killer was right outside, dragging the manager's corpse to dump in the stairwell too. Jess's legs turned to jelly as he listened to the killer's footsteps getting closer and closer. Luckily, the killer got a phone call and ran off in the opposite direction, but as he passed Jess's desk, he spotted Jess's cell phone. The killer realized there was still one more person hiding somewhere. Jess's phone wasn't locked, so the killer scrolled through and learned all his personal info. He stalked through the office, calling out Jess's name while Jess cowered under a desk, shaking like a leaf. As the killer hunted for him, Jess seized the chance to slip into an office and light a piece of paper on fire. He was trying to trip the fire alarm, but even after burning for a while, nothing happened. So he torched the curtains. The blaze immediately caught the attention of people across the street, but it also brought the killer running. The two crossed paths in the hallway, but the killer didn't have time to deal with Jess yet. He rushed to put out the office fire while Jess made a break for the CEO's office, but the killer followed him there too. He shot off the lock and Jess barely managed to duck behind the door. The killer burst in and immediately knocked out a female client, then demanded to know where Jess was hiding. The boss said he hadn't seen him, and the killer didn't push it further. And just like that, Jess had escaped the killer's clutches once again.